Hey, what up? It's Tampa Brad, back at you with book number 2 of my 20 books for 2020. Book number 2 is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And if you've heard of Eckhart Tolle or The Power of Now, you may have heard of it on, I believe it was on Oprah's book club, and it's on many, many influential people's short list of books that are extremely important to them and in their lives. I know Tony Robbins has done work with Eckhart Tolle, and a lot of other success-minded people really love this book and love what Eckhart teaches. And the reason why is actually it's a little deceiving on the surface, because if you look at a book like The Power of Now on its surface, it literally says a guide to spiritual enlightenment. And I don't know how much more disconnected from real life you could possibly get by naming your book A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment, but he did it, and it's actually very accurate. That's a very accurately titled book, but I want to talk about that for a second. The idea of saying, for people who are into Eastern philosophy or spiritual awakening or, presence work, saying that the goal is to become enlightened actually, from my experience, pulls you farther away from the idea of, if enlightenment is possible, it actually makes it less accessible to people. And so the point of what Eckhart Tolle is doing is kind of detracted from by saying something like, oh, I'm enlightened, aren't you? And so what I like to talk about is the side of the book that is super accessible, and actually the, I guess you could say, logical side of it, because I think if you can understand what he's saying in the book from a logical standpoint, you can actually potentially then take in the ideas and have the more spiritual realizations that he's pushing you to have as the book's going on. So the first one is that you are not your thoughts. So he says that you are not the thinking mind. If you can think and you can be aware that you are thinking, then you are by definition disidentified from those thoughts, and you are not the person having those thoughts. So the thoughts and you are independent. So it calls on you to, he actually does a little exercise in the book, because the whole book is structured as question and answer. And so his co-authors ask him questions throughout the book, and then he gives the answer. And so he calls on them very early on in the book to say, okay, take for a second and watch your mind and ask yourself the question, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. And so how long did it take before you had a thought? Was it instantaneously? Were you just thinking the whole time? Were there any gaps in thought? And so if you can actually ask yourself the question and really be attentive, and you watch your brain as if you were watching, say there was like a little mouse hole and you're watching for a mouse to come out of it. I don't know where that illustration came from. I guess Tom and Jerry, Freudian slip. So if you're watching your brain like that, you can get to the point to where you realize, oh, interesting. I'm not the thoughts. Like if I'm angry, I'm not angry. My mind is angry, but me as a person, I'm not defined by the word angry. Like that's not me. If I get fully identified with it, it's just because I'm confused, because my mind is such a strong tool for survival, which is what the mind was made for, was made to make us survive. Tony Robbins always says that you have I think he says a 1,000,000-year-old brain that was made for tens of thousands of years ago, working in a 21st century environment where we have smartphones and computers and crazy cameras and stuff like that. Your brain is not made to thrive now. Your brain is made to thrive 10,000 years prior to now, when we had to hunt down a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. And if some tiger jumped out of the bushes and killed us, it could be over just like that. So your brain is a threat detection machine, so it's not made to, as Eckhart Tolle says, enjoy the current moment. So that being said, he goes through a bunch of different illustrations of that, but the next point that he brings up is that time is not real. So if you imagine we're experiencing, so you sitting here watching this video, you're experiencing what I'm saying to you, you're hearing what I'm saying, you're probably sitting or walking around or something like that, and you might be watching me move my hands around on the screen and talk with my hands like a crazy person. But as you're going through your day, you're experiencing whatever's going on right now. there is a future that you can think of and project forward in your brain, and you can think of things that were in the past, but the future and the past inherently are not real. The only thing that's real is what's happening right now. So anything that happened in the past, the only way you can access it is through your memories, which are not reality per se. It's a figment of your brain. You know, it's not that it didn't happen, but it's no longer real. Once the moment has passed, it's no longer real. The same thing happens with the future. You may have something that will inevitably happen or seems inevitable that it will happen in the future. Like, let's say traditionally rent is due on the first of the month. You know you're gonna have to pay rent in, let's see, it's the 20 something of the month. You know you have to pay rent in a few weeks, but that's not real until the moment you are paying rent, or the moment someone says, hey, pay your rent. You may know based on prior experiences that that is highly likely to happen, but it's not actually real until the moment that it actually happens. This is a bit of a tough concept, but Eckhart Tolle expresses it very poignantly when he says animals live in the now. They live in the present moment. So if you were to ask, say, an oak tree or an eagle, you know, what time is it? They would say, it's now. Or they'd say, what do you mean, what time is it? The time is now. The time is right now. So animals are a very good way to illustrate what it means to live in the moment. Now, that's not saying that being an animal is the ideal, or human beings need to treat ourselves or think of ourselves as animals, because we're not. Obviously, we've gone to a higher level of consciousness. But if you were to think of what it means to be living in the moment, an animal, or say if you were to ask an oak tree what the time is, the oak tree wouldn't respond by saying, oh, it's 5 o'clock, John. The oak tree would say, it's now. Because everything other than a human lives in the present moment, because nothing else can conceptualize of a future or a past. So that said, any stress, you know, there's a lot of baggage that goes along with that. So let's unpack that for a second. All of the baggage that goes along with worrying about the future or ruminating on the past, all of the stuff, basically anything that's causing you stress, if you really think about it, anything that causes you stress in your life is you either projecting your mind into the future and seeing problems that you're going to have that you can't deal with because it's not now, or maybe you can and you just need to take whatever action there is now, or your problems are ruminating on places that you've been victimized or traumatized or, you know, otherwise taken advantage of, but that happened in the past. And remember what we said, the future is not real, the past is not real. So any of those things that are causing you stress or causing you to be just wigged out, they're not actually real. And so it's very hard to take this on board and take this as, you know, when Eckhart Tolle is laying this out in the book and he's talking through it in his calm, he has a very interesting voice. He's very calm and talks like this and takes a lot of pauses. And whenever I listen to the book, I always listen to it on 1x speed. I typically listen to this book late at night because it's very good at putting me to sleep, because he's got such a slow, calm voice and takes so many pauses that I have to do it late at night. Otherwise I'll be like, ugh. Or if I'm trying to chill out, I'll listen to it as well. This is the only book that I listen to on 1x speed, by the way. So that said, it can be difficult to take what Eckhart says at face value, but if you look at the practical side of whatever he's saying, it's actually mirrored in every single self-help book you've ever read in your entire life. What does every self-help book say? It says, figure out what your problem is, devise a plan, execute the plan. And so what it's saying is put aside your fear of what's going to happen in the future, or your how mad you are, sad you are, or glad you are about what happened in the past, and just focus on now and what action you can take right now. So that said, he goes on to talk about relationships and how, you know, being present to the moment can build into amazing relationships and stuff like that. And he really has a lot of amazing quotes in the book. And so what I really want to do is I really want to commit to doing more in-depth videos about what this book is and really kind of further unpacking the ideas inside the book, because if you can really let the ideas in the book sink in and you can actually take them on board and consider them and really at a certain point understand them, it'll create a major shift in your life, and it'll actually create a different value system. It literally, it inevitably, if you can understand what Eckhart Tolle is saying in the book, it inherently will shift your value system. Because what you realize is a lot of the stuff that you prioritized previously really is not all that important. And a lot of the stuff that you thought maybe wasn't as important, all of a sudden becomes way more important to you. You know, looking outside and appreciating the way the sun is coming through the window. It's actually allows you to appreciate little stuff a lot more. And what you'll find is it allows you to not be as dependent on external stimulus to make you happy. A lot of us just tend to spend our days just running through our lives looking to get stimulated again and again and again. We got these damn phones that are just constantly stimulating us and just giving us, you know, exactly like what we need, like at every single moment, just constantly like, oh, I need to hit a dopamine, better open my Instagram and check my notifications to see if I got any new likes or followers. I see myself doing it, absolutely, 100%. What doing things like studying the power of now or doing, you know, what people will call presence or spiritual work is it allows you to get further removed from that and at least just take a step back so that you can observe how your brain is working and what external things are working on you and whether you like the effects of those external things that are working on you or not. And if you don't like them, then you actually have a degree of proactivity and you can remove those things from your life or put new things into your life that you want to affect you. And it's that degree of separation and giving yourself space. I think I talked about this in my other meditation video, which maybe we can remember to link in here as a little card. But the point is, if you can do the work to create space between, you know, the stimulus of what's going on in your outside life and your response, that's where proactivity can come in and fill that gap. And rather than you being dragged around all the time by other people who have other agendas for you, you can set your own agenda and you can run the meeting of your life. And I think that that's a very powerful concept. I mean, this book literally was one that I can't really do it justice in one video, which is why I want to commit to doing a couple more videos, really unpacking what's in the book. But it was really one that changed my life in a profound way. I discovered the book when I was going through a really tough time in my transition out of the Army and my divorce. And so it was a time when I was like, wow, you know, I don't really know what my life's gonna be about. And this book gave me a lot of clarity. And I genuinely don't believe, because I was reading a lot of stuff and not all of it affected me in the same way during that time in my life, but it definitely gave me a lot of clarity on what was going on as far as how I was feeling, you know, what my brain was going through, how my emotions were affecting me. And it gave me great perspective on life and what matters and what does not matter. A lot of us, in the words of Tony Robbins, I love quoting because he has so many quotable lines, a lot of us spend our life majoring in minor things. And if you can get into books like The Power of Now, like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I'll talk about soon, like, you know, other books like The 48 Laws of Power, you can really start to develop the degree of proactivity that is required to major in the majors and not major in minor things. Because, you know, if you're watching this video, you're not the type of person that wants to waste their life away majoring in minor things. You want to have big realizations about what life is really about what are we really even doing here on this earth? What's the point of being alive? You know, is it to make as much money as possible? Some people might say that. Is it to, you know, have as many crazy experiences as possible? Some people might say that as well. Some people would say it's just to walk your spiritual path. You know, it's just to experience the things that you're meant to experience so that your soul can move up, so to speak. There's a great guy, Aaron Doughty, who talks about how we are, in his terms, we are infinite spiritual beings having a limited physical reality or limited physical experience, and he says that we're basically here to wake up. You know, we voluntarily go, you know, to sleep, so to speak, and come to the earth, and then we're here to wake up to what our true calling is and who we really are. And so, from my perspective, the book A Power of Now is a big part of that, and it's really been instrumental in my experience of learning what's kind of like really going on. Like, what am I? You know, what am I really here to do? And so having the experiences that the book lays out, and by the way, none of it requires any belief. It's actually 100% logical. So that's what I love about this book, is you can be an extremely logical person and just understand what Eckhart Tolle is saying in the book logically, and it will actually lead you to extremely profound spiritual realizations. So check out the book, really. I would really highly encourage that. I know, in most of these videos, I'm pounding you with saying if you haven't, taken action and checked out the book, it's a complete waste of your time. But I really mean that. Don't let these past however many minutes go to waste. Check out this book. I would not take the time to talk to you about this book. I mean, look, I've got a lot of stuff to do. I'm taking time out of my day to talk to you about this book, to try to serve it up to you on a silver platter, because I think that it's important for you to be exposed to these ideas. I think that you're gonna get a ton of value out of them. And by I mean I know. I know you will just get so much value out of checking out these books. So I would implore you, check out The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Get it on Audible. I highly recommend listening to the Audible version because I think you can get a lot more, especially with this one, you can get kind of the inflections of what he's trying to say. And he demonstrates some things by using his voice and using pauses that really adds to the effect of the book, and really you'll get more out of it if you listen to the audiobook and only listen to it on one-time speed so you can hear how slowly this guy talks. It's amazing. So check out the book. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, hit the bell next to it, and follow me on Instagram. I'm at Tampa Brad. I look forward to seeing you in the next video for the grand unveiling of the #1 book for 2020. It literally is the Bible of being a human, basically, okay? It is literally, it's not actually the Bible, but it's like the business person and successful person's Bible, okay? So thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next vid. Talk to you very soon about the #1 book for 2020. Peace.